Hello and welcome to Aston Originals. Today we are talking cyber security. We have three guests on the panel today. You can now see them. Let's start with Hinesh. Can you introduce yourself, Hinesh?
Hi Sam, my name's Hinesh and I work for the West Midlands Regional Organised Crime Unit. I'm a detective inspector and I manage the cybercrime team that investigates attacks.
You're sitting next to Anita. Anita, can you introduce yourself?
My name's Anita Chinnaswamy. I'm the Senior Lecturer in Cybersecurity Management and also the Deputy Director for Cybersecurity Innovation Centre at Aston Business School.
Perfect. And Bogdan also?
Yes, thank you. I'm Bogdan Adamik. I'm working at Cybersecurity Innovation Centre. I am research fellow and I'm working at the project TRACE. It's a European Union Horizon project, 7 million Horizon project, lead at Aston by Professor Vladlena Benson, and I hope we will talk about it today.
Perfect. Today we're largely going to be talking about regional organised crime units. Now, instead of saying that every single time, we will say ROCUs because it is easier on everybody taking part in the conversation, but also listening as well. So I guess the first question to you, Hinesh, is how effectively do ROCUs understand the threat and risk posed by serious and organised crime units?
So, it's been a really evolving picture since my time in policing. We've changed from using standard mobile phones to the smart device we now carry. And with that has brought a whole new range of vulnerabilities and chances for criminals to expose those data sets and those devices. So we've had to really change over time, had to adapt what we do as law enforcement, understand new technologies, understand new threats. And, we try and keep a pace with that technology, but it is ever changing. Crypto and currency wasn't a thing until about 10 years ago. We didn't have social media 15 years ago, and we have to try and keep up with those trends. So it does become a real challenge. I'd like to think we're on top of it, but you can never say for certain because our criminals can be very inventive.
Is this one of those industries where it's quite easy to feel quite old?
Yes.
That everything does move at a pace, doesn't it?
That's true, yeah, very quickly actually. Yeah, when you talk about things like NFTs and people are paying millions of pounds for a JPEG image, I do feel very old.
They're very poor, I admit. So how effectively do ROCUs respond to serious and organised crime, sort of as a rule of thumb?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because we've got several organisations involved in policing cybercriminality in the UK. So we have the NCA, and they will look at attacks on critical national infrastructure, the sort of larger scale attacks. My role within the piece is to look at organised crime activity, which unfortunately is increasing. And then we've got forces as well. So each individual police force has its own cyber team too. So we work very closely with them. What I'd say is that effectively the UK has a global to local response. So whatever type of attack comes into the UK, you'll have one of those three teams looking at your investigation.
Anita, I want to bring you in on this one if I can. Obviously, we've got it in practice here.
Yes.
Could you talk to us a little bit about what it's like in theory?
The cybersecurity, again, like you just mentioned, we can feel old here. And it's sort of an emerging area of interest in the academic field as well. Traditionally, cybersecurity has been seen as a technical field, and you have the computing department being teaching students for a while. We coming from a business school, we're actually trying to train people on more the softer side of cyber. So more the organizational skills, regulatory compliance, business continuity in organizations, etc. And so we obviously want to work with the police closely so we can offer more from our pool of talent, if you can call it, to effectively help ROCU in, solving these crimes.
So, I mean, back to you. It's what's it like working with those partners and working like with some body like the CSI Centre at Aston University?
I mean, it's fantastic. The relationship we've had with Anita and even other members of the team have been long-standing. So when you look at things like research, thankfully you've got a really good skilled cohort of students that are keen to research into areas that really don't have the time or resource to look into. So, for example, might be illicit money flows. We've worked closely with Aston in the past on that area. And as you said at the start, the ever-changing landscape of cyber is so quick that actually we do need support, and these relationships are really key for us to really understand the threat, and then we're able to tackle those effectively.
And Bogdan, for you, I suppose similar to what Anita has said.
Yes, we are working in collaboration with the different organizations, and we are very happy that Hinesh can share his knowledge, his experience with our students, and we do believe that our cooperation will have good results. Especially, we have a good project, Trace. It's 7 million project, Horizon project, and we're working for that project for 3 years. And the aim of that project is to help law enforcement agencies to cooperate between different countries in European Union level, and between the UK as well, to create AI tool that can help them trace illicit money flows.
And when we talk about Trace, obviously is funded by the is EU funded, isn't it? And obviously the UK is not part of the EU anymore. Does Trace continue now? Is there a partnership in place that will transcend that?
Yes, it's continuous, so it's absolutely okay. And this partnership, we have 17 partners in this project, and it's continuous. Everything is okay.
And how effective are those partnerships? Then do they work, and what can be done to improve them? Because I suppose it goes back to that thing that we were saying at the beginning, where things change so quickly, so often. I was talking to Simon Hepburn last time he was in here about ChatGPT and the way that has moved. I think that conversation that we had, what was it, a couple of months ago?
Yes.
Has moved on to Chat 4 already, and that's just for free open source content that's based around language. There's so many other programs out there that cover so many different areas.
Yeah, I mean, for us, these partnerships are really key. If you look at cybercrime as an actual attack, it's truly borderless. You can sit anywhere in the world and attack anywhere in the world. So having those international partners, working with EU, working on these projects really helps us to share that intelligence. And then when it comes to actually taking enforcement action, when we want to arrest people, when we want to prosecute people, those relationships then become really, really key, because I can't do my work alone. I've said for some time, even in the lecture this morning with the students, we need to work in partnership with academia, with different organisations, different agencies, and different countries. And the Horizon project, for example, gives us those links in and gives us those pathways to explore those routes properly.
And from a national policing level, obviously, I think, cyber was taken from the Met for some reason, and distributed elsewhere across other forces. How is that joined up approach going to work into the future when things move so quickly, but then it seems everything else is so far behind?
Yeah, sure. So we're part of a national network. So originally, and this is going back sometime well over 10 years ago, that the Met had sort of responsibility for e-crime, as was the phrase back then.
It sounds so dated now, doesn't it?
It really
It's
does.
so strange.
Yeah, thankfully, we've kind of moved on from that now to the use of cybercrime. And as time has gone on, the teams have grown. They've got much bigger. We have, a national network. So each region in the UK has its own cybercrime function, both at a regional and local level. That didn't exist 10 years ago. So the evolution of cybercrime has hopefully been matched by the policing response to it. Is there more to? Yeah, there always is. And we're trying to create more avenues of investigation. So, for example, we now have dark web units as well that we look after, that we manage, that investigates attacks purely on the dark web, recognising that as a new threat. And yeah, we'll try and keep on top of it the best way we possibly can.
Anita, let's talk about academia and how that can help in this whole structure that we call sort of cybersecurity. What work is being done that is going to be helping, Hinesh?
That's a brilliant question, Sam. So we're doing a lot of initiatives. So we're working with industry on certain projects. We work with the West Midlands Combined Authority. We're working with NCIC-funded projects. We're working in cross collaboration with other universities as well. Like Hinesh said, it's not just one person who can do it all. We have to work collaboratively. But since there's such a huge skills gap in cyber, I think the last time I looked, about 16,000 jobs advertised in the UK alone for cybersecurity. So we are trying to offer something from university and the centre towards the skills gap. So we have currently the MBA module, for which Hinesh very kindly presented a lecture this morning and enjoyed by all the students. Apart from that, we are going to launch our MSc program, mainly focused on the cybersecurity management side of things. We have a BSc currently going on in Aston. Apart from that, we're also offering boot camps where people who are trying to transition into the field but want to first explore. So we do the soft side of the cyber, so they can explore and then pick up the area that might actually interest them. We're also giving the opportunity to be accredited. So we have a very close collaboration with ISACA, Professor Vladlina Benson being the vice president, and I'm a board member of ISACA. So we also encourage people to get accredited, which is a global recognition from ISACA, and the UK Cybersecurity Centre supporting us with accreditation as well. So that's how we're trying to offer help towards this community of cybersecurity.
Excellent. I suppose on the flip side, on the research side, Bogdan, you might be able to fill in some blanks there. I think you created an NFT at one point as well. I don't know if you want to talk about that or whether you might go to jail.
Yes, we are. It's a very interesting field about cryptocurrencies, about decentralized finance, and NFT, non-fungible tokens as well. And nowadays, it's easy to create NFT collections. You can sell it, you can share it, you can hold it. But for criminals, it's a very interesting sphere as well, because it's easy for them to make money laundering, to in different countries. Unfortunately, we do not have any law about how to measure and decentralize finance, because mostly decentralized finance, they are without any authority. It's not CEO, CFO, or any organization behind them, and they can work from different countries worldwide. So law in the United States can be the one point. Law in the United Kingdom, absolutely different. But for example, they can operate from China, from Russia, from North Korea, or somewhere else. And it's tricky to find the trails for them. And we are hoping that cooperation with Roku and cooperation with different law enforcement agencies to combine our experience in that sphere, that it can give good results. Sometimes we joke that theory without practice is death, but practice without theory is blind. So we try to solve this problem, and
fingers crossed. So Hinesh, we talked about the challenges that you have and some of those. I want to change the question a little bit, and I hope it doesn't catch you off guard too much, in that what do you think some of the challenges may be going forward? Because we've talked about things changing so quickly and the landscape changing in a way that is probably unprecedented, and even 5 years ago, people maybe didn't see it coming, apart from those working on those projects. What do you maybe fear most, I suppose, going forward within the next 12 months to 5 years? Because like we say, that's probably quite a long time.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's a lifetime, isn't it? 5 years in technology. So, I suppose one of the biggest challenges now everybody is talking about is AI. I think that poses a significant risk for us in terms of managing and investigating cyber attacks. And that kind of follows what's been going on over the last 5 years in a decreasing barrier to entry to becoming a cyber criminal. What do I mean by that? The tools and tactics that, let's say, only 5-10 years ago were actually quite difficult to know and difficult to get into are now getting lower and lower. And I was talking with some of the students earlier to say that actually you can have a look on YouTube now and see some vulnerabilities and how to exploit them. So the introduction of AI poses us some significant problems. So what does that look like? We don't know at the moment, actually, because it's still quite new for us. But if you think about something like pen testing, which is trying to test a network, how strong it is, can you get in? Well, actually, some of that process that can be done manually at the moment may be able to be done by AI at a lot quicker rate, a much faster rate, thereby exposing vulnerabilities in a much quicker fashion. So that's an example of what might be a threat on the horizon. AI clearly has its own challenges ethically as well in terms of the data it collects and what it does with it. Where is that data held? Who has access to that? What happens if that data gets leaked? So it isn't just the actual tool of AI, it's what happens with that data that it goes into. So I think AI is probably the biggest challenge, and I don't think it's that far off the horizon, unfortunately. I think it's going to be coming in the next 12 to 18 months.
Anita, I think when we talk about novel AI tools, what exactly do we mean by that?
Well, AI is developing and people are finding newer things to do with AI. So I think AI is not old, new, sorry. AI is very, very old. It dates back to many, many, many years ago. I think it's the applications which are novel, like, for instance, ChatGPT. So we now talk about pre-ChatGPT and post-ChatGPT because it's causing quite a stir everywhere. There are advantages with it, but also significant challenges, as do all AI applications. So I think when we say novel, what we're trying to say is the application of AI in novel areas.
Bogdan, let's have a look at Trace again, and just finally to wrap things up, when we're looking at using Trace to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of anti-money laundering efforts, particularly in transaction monitoring, and there's pattern detection and regulatory compliance in there too. So I mean, it's quite a broad horizon, isn't it?
Yes, and we do believe that we can manage it, and we are creating AI tools using different modern languages with very sophisticated programs, because a lot of partners throughout Europe and the UK working on it, with collaboration with law enforcement agencies from different countries, from more than 10 countries in Europe and the UK as well, to help them. We have very good cooperation, and we combine theoretical knowledge of university, of practice, of IT developers with needs of law enforcement agencies, and we almost on the finished stage of creating very sophisticated AI tools that can help trace not only money flows, but they can help as well create knowledge graph and understand how criminals can use cryptocurrencies, even decentralized finance, even in different. We have more than 160 different blockchains nowadays. 2 or 3 years ago, it was maybe 10. 5 years ago, it was only 2 or 3, but now 161. So for criminals, it's a heaven to use crypto to do their illicit things. And
You've spoken to a lawyer before this. Just finally then, when we talk about the next generation, this is your message for the next generation. I mean, is the next generation next week? Because we're talking about things moving so quickly. But what would I suppose your advice be for somebody who's thinking about getting into a career in cyber, and what they need to do, what they need to look at? Because actually the answer doesn't lie in a prompt on ChatGPT. And I suppose at the end of the day, you can probably tell the difference between people that know what they're talking about and someone that's copied and pasted it off the internet.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, because for me, the sort of cybersecurity industry's changed. It isn't just about technical knowledge, being a programmer, understanding high-level language, etc. We need people in all sorts of disciplines. We need people to be able to translate technical language into non-technical speak. So when you've got all these buzz phrases and all these acronyms, actually, what does the man in the street understand? And that soft skill set is so important. And what I would say is, for the next generation, come and join us in cybersecurity. Come and help us fight the bad guys. We don't need you to be technical experts, but just come and help us, because you'll have some skills that will help.
Great answer. And don't work at a university if you don't like acronyms. That's all I can say. Now, the CSI Centre. Oh, there's another one. Anita, what's your advice for any young people out there, or older people as well, that are thinking of making that transition in careers?
Whatever skill set you have, there's a place for you in cyber.
Excellent. That could be anything. What's the most common, or what's the most sought after? Because I suppose they're very different things.
I can put out about 25 roles right now in cyber. So there's no common cyber career, if you like. So that's why I say, if you have any skill set, if you can write, you can do governance in cyber. If you can code, you can do detection analysis. You can be a spy, you can do forensics.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Whenever we do a news story and I've got to find a picture that isn't of someone in a hoodie with some binary code across the screen, and hopefully that will change, and actually my life will get easier if we can get some people that don't fall into that hacker crack category. That's very interesting. And Bogdan, finally from you.
We're excited that we do very good things, and it's very interesting to teach students and to teach them the professions that very needs for in the future. So we don't teach them for some history, or we don't teach even for present. We teach them for things that maybe the most exciting and the most needed in the nearest future. And it's good. It's interesting, and we know that our students like it as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you to our guests today, and do go and watch the conversation with Simon Hepburn from the UK Cyber Security Council. Very interesting chat around actually applying for jobs within cyber. But we'll say goodbye to today's guests. We'll say goodbye to Hinesh, Anita and Bogdan, and make sure you look out for the next episode, which will be on Aston Originals, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at Aston Originals.